viewer for tuning into this Facebook channel or YouTube. And today we have with us Dr. Andrew Gachii, who is a Christian and also a medical doctor, a pathologist to be specific. And I want to welcome Dr. Gachii.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gachii. I'm honored.
So I'm very much excited to know that, to find that you are very good in Bible.
Yes. I think one thing, Reverend, we have to be very sure of is that I know there are people who say that if you are probably a scientist, a doctor, there is no place for God. But the one thing that we must all realize, all of us must realize, is that God is our creator. As to the issue of creation, this should not be debated. In fact, the issue of evolution does not even come in. Because you can never tell me that nothing plus nobody equals to everything. That the world as we see it was created from nothing and by nobody. So the truth of the matter is that mankind, just like animals, plants, and everything else, was created by God.
So we are all created by God.
We were all created by God. And this is not debatable. What the Bible says is the truth.
In the recent past, we have a scholar who said that Kenya should not pray, but look to science for the solution of coronavirus. What do you think about that?
I think that was a very, very unfortunate statement, and it couldn't have come at a worse time. Because what actually we are saying is that if men had all the solutions to the problems that we have, then by now we ought to have gotten a solution to this coronavirus. But the truth of the matter is that God is the one who created us, and a man must put his faith in God, not in science. In other words, what we are saying, science is just part of what God has given us. We know that He is a very generous God, and He has allowed us, or He has given us wisdom to be able to manipulate the world for our own good. Unfortunately, we have not always been faithful, and we have probably done more damage to this earth than what we ought to have been what we ought to have done. But in all that, God is still gracious to us, and He has given us. The one thing that a man must realize is that you are nothing without God.
We are nothing without God.
We are nothing without God.
Wow. So even scientists must realize.
Even the scientists must realize that whatever they are doing, it is God who has enabled them, and every scientist should put his faith in God. There is a higher being than ourselves, and that the supreme being we are talking about is God. His presence is essential. I know many people may start wondering, why are we experiencing this? Why are we suffering? Remember, Adam, and by extent, to a certain extent also his offspring, that is us, sinned against God. And that is how the sin entered into the world.
Before we come to that, because we are going to come into why are we suffering, why we have faced corona, why are these pandemics. Where does faith in science meet? In your own where does faith in science meet?
Faith, actually that's a very good word. Remember what we are told by the Bible. Faith is the substance of things not seen. Things that we are hoping for, although we have not yet seen. How does faith come about? It is actually given to us by God. And actually we are saying, much as science explains a lot of things, it does not explain everything. In fact, science falls short of explaining so many things in our world. Because we are saying, if only science can be a solution, then we could not be grappling with the many problems that we are already having. So actually, I would want to look at science as an aspect that has been given to mankind by God. We must not see science as something that has been innovated by man. It is God who has given us the knowledge to know what science is, and even to be able to use science for our own good.
So science is good.
So science is good. In fact, it is God who has given it to us. But we must realize that faith is above science.
So in other words, what you're saying is that faith and science must work together.
They must work together.
But you also said,
Yes.
I'm putting it in my own words,
Yes.
that where science stops,
Yes.
faith continues.
In fact, faith continues.
So science cannot answer questions about the ultimate.
Yes. And in any case, science has tried to tell us about the origin of man. But it has not told us the destiny of man.
Ah, great.
It is faith that tells us the destiny of man. And we must realize, according to the Bible, that life according to God is linear. We are coming from a particular place, that is creation, through a process of life into a destiny. What will be the man's destiny? It is when eventually God comes back and actually takes whatever he had created.
Okay, that's very important to note for those who are trying to say that you don't need prayers.
Yes.
Here we must, science and faith must work together.
True.
It's God who gives the scientists the knowledge.
The knowledge.
Like we God need the scientists to discover the medicine and the vaccines for this virus.
Yes.
So faith and science works together.
They work together.
But where science stops, faith
starts.
continues.
Yes. Yes.
Faith continues. Now, tell us about your own take on God's place, on God's the place of this virus, of this pandemic, in God's agenda for the world.
Yes, we must actually realize that this is probably not the first pandemic. We have had histories of previous pandemics. There was a so-called bubonic plague that was in the 15th century, killed so many people. We are aware of the Spanish plague of 1918, and there has been smaller plagues, but all the same. And we are not even saying in the future we won't have any. In other words, there will be certain things that are happening in the world, but they do not come to God as a surprise. Yeah? It is actually part of God's agenda. We are not saying God has actually brought this corona into us, but what actually we are saying is part of the God's agenda to make people realize that God is in existence, and more so for people to turn back to God. We do know that Jesus, when he was on this earth, he predicted that there will be many diseases, there will be earthquakes, there will be disasters coming. I think this is just part of what Jesus predicted.
So are you saying that God did not bring, but God allowed it to happen?
He allowed it to happen. Remember, there are some things God will allow to happen, not him who is bringing it to us. A very good example is the suffering of a man called Job. Job had a lot of suffering. You cannot say God inflicted Job, but he allowed Satan to inflict Job for a purpose. In other words, what you are saying, even this coronavirus and any other disaster that will happen is part of a God's agenda. It could even be the Satan who is bringing this plague to try and show us that God is not all powerful.
So it could be Satan bringing, God
allowing it to happen. Probably God is allowing it to happen, but Satan is bringing it. Remember Satan, how he's described. He comes to kill, to steal, kill, and destroy. However, Jesus came to give us life and give it abundantly. In other words, what we are saying, it should not be a very big surprise to us as Christians that this plague is happening.
Could it be traced somewhere in the prophecy of the Bible?
My take is that this could actually be part of what is in the Revelation, in the book of Revelation. In the book of Revelation, we are told of the Great Tribulation.
Yes.
And I think I will encourage Christians to take their time and read and understand the book of Revelation. Because actually in that book, it's even said, blessed are those who read and understand that book.
Okay.
It talks about tribulation. However, I don't think we are in the tribulation as yet.
Not yet there.
But Jesus predicted that even before the tribulation happens, there will be many disasters coming up. And this is part of the disasters that were predicted.
Could it be what the Bible calls birth pangs?
Yes,
or
yes.
a precursor to...
Actually, they were predicted that there will be birth pangs. Birth pangs, we are all aware, it's like a woman giving birth. It comes with a lot of pain, but also it comes with a lot of hope. Yeah, because the child, the mother is looking forward to giving. So even for the Christians, much as there may be birth pangs and therefore pain, eventually there is a lot of hope. The worst situation mankind can find themselves in is to be in a hopeless situation.
Yeah, before you get the hope, now what could God be telling us through this? If it's part of the birth pangs, what is it calling Christians to do?
Actually,
or what is it speaking to Christians today?
This is one thing that we must take in a very positive way, that God is reminding us that He is still God, and we must turn to Him. Remember, what we are saying is that sometimes God allows these things, sometimes as a form of punishment, I put it in quote, so when we have turned away from His commandments, when we have not obeyed Him. One of the key things in Christianity is to obey God. And in any case, one of the best songs that in the Christian world is to trust and obey. So our disobedience can sometimes bring about this pestilence, this kind of diseases, as God trying to remind us.
So one, God tries to bring us back into obedience by allowing such pestilence.
By allowing such pestilence to happen.
You know, I had a debate with a friend, he's a Christian, who says that God does not punish, because that was the God of the Old Testament. The New Testament God is a God of grace. So God will punish. God will allow such things to happen as punishment to people.
I think, yes, we know God is a loving God. God is a faithful God. God will not punish. But also the Bible talks of the wrath of God. The wrath of God. Remember what we said is that God gives people choices. Yes? God cannot force you to have, love, to love Him. Because He has given you a choice. A forced love is not love. It's not love.
Yes.
So God has given us choices. And how do we love God? By obeying His commandments. Yeah? By disobeying Him, what does it mean? We no longer love God, or we are no longer in fellowship with God. We are saying it's not God who is bringing this directly, but He's allowing it to happen. Yes. And remember, God will not isolate the Christians so that they don't suffer. Yes. God does not remove us from situations such as this. But the most important thing to realize as a Christian is that God gives you power to overcome these situations. Remember Daniel in the lion's den?
Yes.
He allowed Daniel to go right into the den. He would have said, why didn't God restrain the people who are throwing him in? No. But what did God do? God was with Daniel in the den. Yes. So similarly, we Christians will go through these sufferings. But the way we interpret these sufferings is different from a non-Christian. Yes. In the sense that when we see it, what we are asking God to do is to give us power to go through it. Of course, nobody wants to suffer. We would want this suffering to be taken away, God to take it away. But also, another important thing as we pray is to be done during God's time. Not our time. The solution will come in God's time.
Because there's an agenda, and
there is an agenda and it must be fulfilled.
Yes. So we talked about obedience. What other thing do you think this is speaking to Christians?
This is also going back to what we talked about, faith. Yes, this is a time we increase or make sure that we have strong faith. And it is not strong faith in God. It is strong. It is faith in a great God, in a strong God. Our faith must be based on a particular, and in this particular case, we are saying we are putting all our faith in a great God. Yes. But also, it also reminds us. Remember, as we are talking about faith and obedience, there is also the God's will. And in the Lord's Prayer, we always talk of the will of God to be done. That is what actually we should be asking for. Let your will be done. When will it be done? At God's time.
It's God's time.
And remember, to God, timing is more important than time. Yeah. So God is not bound by hours.
Timing is more important than time.
Timing is more important than time.
What do you mean?
God is not bound by hours, by minutes, by days, months, or even years. To God, there is no distinction.
Yeah.
Remember even what the Bible tells us, that 1,000 years is like a day to God, and a day is like 1,000 years. God is not bound by time, but He has timelines in everything that He does.
Yes.
There's one quote that I really liked. I first heard it from one of the preachers, although now he's dead, Adrian Rogers, and he was talking to one of renowned personalities, and he gave a statement that was quite telling. He said, "There are no emergencies in heaven. They are just plans."
There are no emergencies.
No emergencies. God has already planned everything that is going to happen to mankind. Yes? And He has determined what will happen at a particular time. So nothing catches God by surprise.
Then should we pray? Because
No, the idea is, remember, by the way, to a Christian or to everybody, why do we pray? We don't pray to inform God. God already knows what we are intending to tell Him. Yeah? We don't pray to impress God. There's nothing that can impress God. The main reason why we pray is to invite God.
It's to invite God.
Is to invite God. And that is very key. We want to tell God we recognize your presence. We want you to be with us. We want you to walk with us. And that is why we are even telling the non-Christian there is no better life than a life of salvation. In other words, you have actually invited God, and actually God comes into you in the form of the Holy Spirit. And therefore from there, He will walk with you.
Yes.
Yes? Remember what we are told in Micah chapter 6 verse 8. And God has shown you, O mankind, what you need to do. To live justly, to have mercy, and walk humbly with your Lord.
Yeah. So that's very important for us to know.
Yes.
And it's good to know that this is all in the plans of God.
Yes. Yes.
And God, in His own time, He will bring the solution.
He will bring the solution. Yes.
Yes. Now, as a medical doctor, what is your word or parting shot to the Christian and Christians, and also the medics, even as we continue waiting upon God on the solution to coronavirus?
Well, the one thing I would say, as first of all, as a medical doctor, is that whether we are Christians or not, we have to adhere to the rules that are being given to us. The issue of social distancing. Remember the way...
This 1 meter.
Yes, this 1 meter as we are trying to maintain it. The social distancing.
Yes.
Why is it important? Right now, although we don't know all the facts about this virus, we know one of the ways of transmission is through what we call droplets. In other words, if somebody coughs or sneezes or speaks even with a very loud voice, there are certain elements or droplets that get out of the mouth or out of the nose. And these ones contain millions of viruses. So when somebody is so near, they can easily contract those viruses. So one of the best ways to avoid is actually that social distancing, and that's what is being emphasized. Of course, the issue of washing our hands, that one should also, it's also very, very important. Remember, unfortunately, much as it is doing a lot of killing, this coronavirus is a very weak virus.
Very weak?
It is very weak virus.
And
by the way, the reason why it's called coronavirus, because it has that crown-like appearance. Yes.
Crown corona.
Crown corona. Actually, corona is a Latin for crown. So it looks very beautiful from the outside, but very lethal inside. But what actually we are saying is that it's a very weak virus. The outer part of this virus contains what we call fats and proteins. That's what is covering from the outside. The inner part has what we call DNA. Now, when you wash your hands, the outer coat, which is the protein and the fat, gets dissolved, and the virus disintegrates. It is no longer effective. That's the simple science behind washing.
Now they're saying that it's not a living organism. It's
we don't talk of the viruses being living, like bacteria.
And how do
we talk of them being active?
Oh, they are active.
In fact, when you leave them, let's say even in the air or on a surface over time, they get destroyed.
They reproduce.
They cannot reproduce by themselves. If they are just lying, for example, on a table, they will not reproduce. But when they get into a human body, the body is very, very conducive. It's a very good environment for that bacteria. What it does, some of the proteins that we are talking about are able to digest the cell and penetrate. As it gets into the cell, it releases its molecular structure, which is RNA. The details of that, whatever that means. Now, as it is released into the body, then this RNA is able to multiply very fast. In fact, you only need to get a few of the viruses inside, and in the cell they multiply in thousands or millions. With the time, the cell now releases those particles. We call them particles, RNA particles, and now they get out of the. As they get out of the body, out of the cell, they get that coating, the outer coating. In other words, the virus gets into you, it uses your cell, it replicates yourself, and then eventually it takes part of the protein that is in the cell to come out. What will be the effect of that cell? That cell is dead. Yes, it dies. The cell dies. But what has it helped to do? The virus to multiply into hundreds and millions. Of course, by then, if they are already in millions, someone has already started showing the symptoms. And actually, you can see the symptoms that are coming about. The destruction of the cell means you cannot have good exchange of air at the cell level. And hence, the difficulties in breathing. Yes, the person cannot breathe well. Again, what enables the cells to exchange air? It is an intact, good cell. Now, this cell has been destroyed. It can't exchange the air. And now, the other thing is that the virus is a foreign body. It has gone into the cell. It is actually in the lining of the airways, and therefore it is a foreign body. Your body detects the virus as a foreign body. Of course, it is trying to fight it in all ways. And that's why we are talking of good immunity, boosting your immunity.
How do you boost your immunity?
The immunity can actually, by the way, it is just by good eating, but a lot of times you have heard people emphasizing the need for fruits and vegetables because they contain vitamin C, which is otherwise also called ascorbic acid. And this one actually is a big, huge immune booster. Yes. People ask, should we take multivitamins? Unless one is sick. Ordinary fruits, different varieties are good enough. Now, remember we said this virus is a foreign body. So once it is in the cell, it has destroyed the cell, your body starts detecting this as something foreign. So it tries to eliminate it physically by you coughing. Yes? It is irritating the cells. So that's how you keep on coughing. So that's the second symptom that you may experience. Remember also, being a foreign substance, it releases certain elements that actually shows that you have an infection and hence your temperature. So those three key symptoms, and usually a lot of times it starts with a high fever. The temperature goes up, usually to 38 or above. Remember, human temperature should not be more than 37.5. Don't be too worried if your temperature is taken and it is 35 or it's 34. Your body has the capacity to regulate your temperature. However, if it goes below 38.5, tells you there is a major problem. And that's usually the first sign, even before you start coughing, even before you start sneezing or any other symptoms that come about.
So you're saying that we need to observe?
We really need to observe this. Because from the scientific point of view, we know how the virus is being transmitted, and therefore we can prevent ourselves. Now, from the Christian point of view, there is still a lot of hope.
Mm-hmm.
God has not forgotten us.
Mm-hmm.
God is not directly punishing us.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing He's asking, we need to go back to God.
Mm-hmm.
We need, for Christians, it is prayers, prayers, more prayers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
For non-Christians?
And to non-Christians, please also get into prayers.
Mm-hmm.
What I would urge you is start by getting saved. Know who Jesus is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? No, because by so doing, the joy of Lord will be in you.
That's true.
Yes. You even understand more
Mm.
why you are praying.
Yeah.
So non-Christians, it's a golden opportunity to turn to God.
Mm.
I know many people may be very skeptical, but God is doing nothing, we are still suffering. But this is not really a surprise to God, and even to us Christians. It's just a matter of time. God will take control. Remember, God will probably bring a solution through the scientists.
Yes.
And therefore, there is no conflict between faith and science. Yes, yes.
Okay. So Christians should pray that God gives
a solution, and it may come through the scientists.
Wow.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. I think that was a very healthy discussion.
Yes.
On the place of faith and science,
Mm-hmm.
and also the place of coronavirus and God's agenda,
Yes.
and what we should do as Christians and non-Christians
Yes.
in containing this virus.
Yes.
And I thank God because there is hope.
There is a lot of
God's time.
A lot of
A
hope.
solution will be found,
Yes.
and we'll be able to move on with life as usual.
Oh yes. Our prayer is that soon and very soon God will bring an intervention. Meanwhile, it is prayers, prayers, and more prayers.
Thank you, Dr. Gachii.
Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you.